Hello and welcome to another episode of my Facts and Glitches series, where I showcase some more of what I have learned from speedrunning GTA 5 for way too many hours. First up, before you start the mission Marriage Counselling with Franklin, you can destroy the tennis pro's car, which creates unusual effects when you start the mission.
Fuck! This has got to stop happening to me.
$150 an hour to fuck my wife in my own bed?
So when the mission actually starts, the tennis pro does not get into the car like he's meant to, instead he runs down the street, but the tennis pro's car will still spawn and drive away with no one in it. The tennis pro doesn't get very far before he stops running, but he's certainly a lot more resistant to Michael's attempts at revenge. On the mission Scouting the Port, where you have to scout a port, you are usually locked out of getting into vehicles when you arrive, but it was actually recently discovered that for a small window at least, there is exactly one vehicle you can get into, this truck.
Get in there.
It seems that Rockstar had a good reason for wanting to prevent you from getting into vehicles. Floyd has no ability to ragdoll, so you can push him as if he's on ice, all the way to the handler at the end.
Here, those big sky crane things that pick up the whole container. So how's a man in a hurry supposed to get in and out of this place? Now what's the Coast Guard response like? Maybe I'll have to saddle you up and ride you across the Marion Turner overpass. We need you guys on the handler. Couple containers and maybe got to F. That ain't a question. Get on it, now.
Moron!
It's actually kind of funny that Floyd of all characters is very easy to push around.
So how's a man in a hurry supposed to get in and out of this place?
Next up, it is possible to dupe vehicles using Michael's side activities, with a little bit of a quirk involved as well. If you drive here with Franklin, switch to Michael, start yoga, and then stop yoga, when you switch back to Franklin, Franklin will be relocated outside of Michael's house. If you drive back into Michael's, there will be a duplicated car, and oddly it will have a random pedestrian in it who's trying to drive away. A new way has been discovered to get into Michael's yard for the mission complications, where Franklin has to repossess a vehicle. Unfortunately, this way requires a lot of speed and luck, so it isn't very reliable, but it does look damn cool.
It's just because you have a massive gaper, bitch!
Similar to the vending machines in a previous episode, if you have a wanted level and you go to your safe house to smoke a bong, the cops will not shoot you until you're done smoking.
Where's my car?
Oh, hell no, I'm relaxed, nigga. That's what I am. I'm relaxed, man. I am so relaxed and happy. I can shit myself. I hope I did shit myself. Decent weed right there. I feel nice. Woo, I feel real good all over.
For a very long time, a bug at the end of the jewel store heist vexed our speedrunners to no end. For reasons we couldn't understand at the time, one of the bikers would just straight up fall through the floor. Eventually the bike would reappear and then fall through the floor again, warping into the back of the van, allowing us to progress as normal, but this was a time loss that was quite irritating. Thankfully, Burhack solved this riddle when he noticed that if you left the jewel store heist too early, the second bike wasn't set up properly, so if you just waited a second before leaving, the bug wouldn't occur.
Cleaning them out! Alright, that's our target!
While I was unable to naturally set up this interaction again, I found that dogs seem to follow cats for some reason. I have to do this because I want to see if the dog will attack me. I'm sorry, chat.
Okay.
Upon killing the cat, the dog ran off without a care in the world. If you've ever seen this interaction or have footage of it, please tell me of it. I'd be very happy to hear from you. Something far more annoying is that you can be pulled from your taxi while you're fast traveling.
Yo, you a clown, bro.
Where you headed, homie?
Fuck off. Hey, payaso, you're a clown.
More interestingly though, you can actually fast travel and take NPCs that are outside your taxi with you, suggesting that the taxi actually warps a bubble of area.
Where you headed, homie?
Del Perro. What? Time to kick some culo. I'm a professional ass kicker. Well, so what?
In a previous episode, I showcased the setup to get a collectible under this bridge, but a new setup has been found that is way faster and a lot easier. On the mission Complications, when you're sneaking into Michael's house, there is a gardener in your way. Furthermore, if you shoot your gun at any point near Michael's house, you mission fail. Oddly though, it turns out that if you shoot your gun just a little bit further away from Michael's house, you don't mission fail and you spook the gardener. He is so spooked that he'll run effectively forever, with his blower going the entire time. Even when dead, his leaf blower will still continue. In a previous episode, I showed that your hitbox gets larger when you bring out your phone, making it so you can't move between these chairs. But it also turns out that if you spam pause, it messes with your hitbox, enabling you to get into tight spaces that you wouldn't normally be able to get into. On the mission friend request, in the Life Invader building you can interact with effectively nothing, but for some reason you can interact with this chair and do this. I guess this was just the easiest way for the developers to enable an NPC to sit down. On the same mission, once you've placed the bomb and left the building, even though the doors are closed, it is possible to get back in, using this spot where there's no solid texture. Unfortunately, again, there's not much to do as there's not many things you can interact with, but you can buggerize around with the wonky hitbox from the receptionist. And so now we continue from last episode with the Molotov discoveries. On the mission long stretch, when you get to the recycling plant, both Lamar and Stretch become immune to fire.
I said lay low after you got cropped. You ain't no motherfucker, that ain't me. Keep your head down. I can see that. Here again? Fuck you!
On the mission Friends Reunited, Wade is entirely immune to fire. On the mission Blitz play, when you blow open the doors for the security van, you get some weird interactions with the people inside if you try to light them on fire.
Move it!
fucking ears! I'm fucking deaf, you complete...
You hear all them sirens, dog?
Looks like they hit their panic button after LSP.
I'm not sure how interesting this discovery is for most people, but I find it interesting, so I'm going to include it. On the mission surveying the score, traditionally you can only end the mission with either Michael or Trevor. The reason for this is that you can only use Michael or Trevor at the end of the mission, but if you fail 3 times as Michael and mission skip to the end, you end as Franklin, suggesting perhaps that at one point at least, you could have used Franklin to end the mission, but they removed it before the game was released. And so that ends this episode. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, please hit that like button, it helps me out. And if you want to see more episodes like this, there are more episodes in this series, so you could check those out. I hope you're all doing well.